So here we are. We're out in the Palm Springs desert, and if it doesn't quite look like a desert, it's because we're in a graveyard. And I keep coming back to this graveyard, and the reason is because it's where Frank Sinatra is. If you just look down on that there, you'll see Francis Albert Sinatra, 1915 to 1998. Beloved husband and father. The best is yet to come. Quite what that means, I have no idea. But there you go. And anyway, as you can see, it's a really small little grave there for something that was so big. You know, I mean, Frank's legacy is huge. But there he is with his, go down again, just show him and his family there, just run it along there, Thomas. There's Vincent Mazzola, who was his uncle, and then you've got Natalie Sinatra, who would be his mother, and then his father, Anthony Martin Sinatra, who was Frank's father. You know, the most humble of graves, really, you know, for such a thing. But things aren't all what they seem, because underneath here, his body is in a huge big cake of cement, so as the scumbags can't come along and, you know, dig him up and take bits and pieces. His hair, his rings or whatever is in there. But, you know, Frankie is a little bit special to me, because I remember I went through a very strange time round about, it was 1986, and I'd just been dropped from my first solo record deal. It was CBS, and I was really devastated at this. And I was living in London at the time, and suddenly I found myself back in Ireland, living in this little farm that I'd bought, and I was all over the place. And the doctor prescribed me Librium, which I would take freely, along with copious amounts of cannabis, and I would sit through the winter in this little cottage out in the Northern Ireland sticks with this Frank Sinatra album playing away while I was completely off my tree. And it was a beautiful record called The Point of No Return. Really, really sad record, but I remember just listening to it and thinking what an amazing singer this man is, you know, such a natural, you know. I mean, some things in this life just can't be learned. I mean, you can learn to sing to a degree, but there are people who just opened their traps, you know, in their late teens or 20s, and they were just brilliant from word go. And he was one of them. His pitching was perfect, and he was convincing. And when I think about that little thing I did about David Bowie earlier on, I can see a direct link from Sinatra to Bowie, in that they're not just singers, they're stylists. You know, they're not just somebody shoved there to vend out the song. It's a part of them, and their style is important. And I think Sinatra set the thing up for people like Bowie, and a whole lot of really grim ones as well, of course. But there you go. So there's go on. Let's have a look at Frankie again. Frank Albert Sinatra, 1915 to 1998, and also on this graveyard, you can bring the camera up now, love, is Sonny Bono, you know, from Sonny and Cher. He's just up the way there, and you remember Sonny and Cher had a huge hit with that thing, I Got You Babe, and I remember as a 5-year-old, because that hit was global, they would have come to Europe, and what with Cher having some European blood in her and everything, I guess she wanted to travel a bit. Anyway, she came over to Northern Ireland, her at Sonny and Cher, and they were walking round my little seaside town around about 1966, 67, and everybody was really kind of like, my God, look at them, those long-haired hippies and everything. But I remember thinking, like, wow. And they were misfits, you know. And it's amazing, you know, when you think about, here we are in a place of life and death. But, you know, when you think of Sonny Bono, he started off as a hippie, and he actually ended up as the mayor of Palm Springs, which is a pretty highfalutin deal, you know, to go from a hippie to that. And, you know, life's a bit of a journey, you know, before you end up popping your clogs. So, and Palm Springs is great. I mean, it's people like Sinatra that built this place, you know, in the mid-20th century. People like Frankie and Lucille Ball used to come out here. They invested all their money, well, not all of it, but a lot of it. Lucille Ball particularly, she bought hotels, set up hotels, and all the Hollywood set would come out here to chill, but they'd be near enough to Hollywood to get back if the studios needed them. So it was a scene out here, you know, it was glamorous, you know, and very, very swish. And I'm just completely charmed by Palm Springs. So there you go.